All right, so we've created a repo. We called it Git Conflict. We're going to try and demo and see how would be the interaction between two developers that have a repository in conflict and how they might resolve them. All right. So we've created a simple file, hello.js, which we can run locally, and it prints out just 10 hellos. So to be able to demo this, we need to have a centralized repository that two folks are sharing. Right? So let's create a repository, a remote repository, where we can share this code amongst two fellow developers. So let's see, we can create a repository on Git. Let's create a new repository. Git conflict. We'll say CS4500 Git conflict. Right, so we created the repository. There's nothing in it yet. We'll be pushing this over to the centralized repository. Right, so we alrety have a file. We already initialized it. We don't really need a README. Let's commit. Probably we'll need to add everything. So git add everything. So it's been added, and we can see that Git knows about this new file, and we need to commit it. And let's commit it. So git commit created hello.js. And we're gonna push it. Now to push it, it doesn't really. We don't really have anywhere to push it to. Right now we only have the local repository that is tracking our local modifications. So to create the repository, the remote repository, we're going to create the remote. We're going to tell our local repository that there is some remote repository running on, that is being stored elsewhere in somebody else's machine. In this case, it would be GitHub.com's servers, right? They have their own repository. Again, this is distributed, right? Meaning everyone has their own little repository, but we can all agree on perhaps one of them being the repository where we're all gonna make sure that our the source code that's gonna get actually deployed is in this one repository. But it could be anybody's. It could be mine. It could be yours. But typically, we all agree on some remote machine. So we're going to add that. We're going to say git remote add. Git remote add. And then typically, one of the common names that we use to refer to the remote repository is origin. It's a convention. It's very commonly used in amongst folks that use Git. We give it a name. And you can give it any name, all right? But the most common name is the default name for the remote repository is origin. Although you can have any 2, 3, 4, any number of remote repositories, each one with a distinct name. Okay? Maybe you have one that called dev, another one called QA, the other one called production, right? And you can deploy to different repositories for different environments. Right, so right now we just have one, right? And the default name is origin. And then you specify, what is the URL of where is it being hosted. So we're going to paste that. And now we have the remote. We can list the remotes. We can say git remote, and it lists all the remotes that my local repository knows about. Right now it only knows about origin. Or we can ask it to be a little more verbose of where my changes would go if I try to push this to a remote repository. So if I want to start pushing, I would say git push. And if you don't say anything, where do you want to push? It'll assume that it's the default remote repository, which happens to be origin. Right? If you want to push anywhere else, then you would have to give it the alias, the right alias. Right now, there's only one alias, the origin alias. Okay, But you can have multiple. But if you want to push anything other than origin, you would need to specify the alias of that remote repository. Make sense? Okay. All right, so if I say push, it's going to say we need to set up the stream that we actually want to use for uploading. So let's do that. All right, so now it's pushing, and it says right now there's one branch master to master, and you'll notice that here, if we refresh now, now we have our hello JS file hosted on a remote repository. So now it's in a place that several folks can collaborate, right? They can now other folks can using this repository. We can send them a link and we'll invite them, and they can clone it down. They can take the URL, clone it down, and start working. So now we can start collaborating amongst each other, right? Again, it's a very, very common day-to-day activity amongst developers. So let's do that. Let's have another, someone else in a separate terminal interact with this repo. Okay. Let's see if we can set this up. We'll have the this terminal here, and maybe we can put Sublime right next to each other. Can we do that? Okay, I think that works. So in a separate window, maybe let's create another terminal. Let's open another terminal. No, that didn't work. Can I use this one maybe? And move it over to another. Will that work? And can I have a separate Sublime? Okay, so we have one Sublime, and we have another Sublime. Okay, so let's see. Let's try this again. And let's put one Sublime for one. And let's have the other desktop. Let's have its own Sublime. All right. Okay, so we have the left-hand side and the right-hand side, right? So, and we'll have each one be a different user. Well, it's still going to be me, right? But looking at two different local repositories, both pointing to the same remote repository. Okay, and we'll demo what the day a normal day goes with two that looks like for two developers. All right, so let's see. Where am I here? I'm in the same conflict directory, so I'm going to go in a different directory so I can have a different version of this, right? Right. So I'm going to move out of here and create another directory, maybe a little temp directory. I'm going to go in there. There's nothing there, so I'm going to, as a developer, somebody say, hey, can we collaborate in this repository? So we're going to clone down that repository, and this is I'll copy the URL. And I can clone it down, Git Clone. And you've done this for the assignment. I think most of you are done. You clone it down. And now we have here CS4500 Git conflict. If we go in there, you'll notice that we have the hello.js. Yes? So the person on the right-hand side has the same content, presumably, as the right-hand side. We both have hello.js. Okay. Here I am in NEU Git conflict, whereas on the right-hand side we are in temp CS4500 Git conflict. See that? We're in different directories. We have the same content. Everybody good? All right. Okay. So here, as my right-hand side developer, I can open up the content. Open. And it's under, let's see, where is it under? What did I call it? That's Git conflict with hello. Where's the other one? Where did I put it? Oh, it's in mine. Git conflict. Why are you in there? I don't think that's where I want it to be. Let me put it in a different place. Sorry. Okay, so we're there. Let's go back up. Let's go back up. And let's, here's where I meant to put the temp. And we're going to git clone again. So git clone and clone down that repo. I think that's it. All right. And let's go in there. And we have the content. And we are in the right place. OK. We're in the right directory. OK, let me open the content. So open, and we're here. And temp, git CS4. There we have the hello.js. OK, so the left-hand side developer has the file, and the right-hand side developer has the file. OK, so obviously, if we're working on separate files, there's very little danger on overriding each other's work, right? So that's an easy one. Let's not deal with that just yet. Let's deal with one that we would have to deal if there are some issues. So here the left-hand side. Say they want to make a change, right? And right now they both have their statuses is that it's clean, nothing has changed, and on the right-hand side also the status is that they're both clean. There's no difference, and they're both in the same branch. So git branch says that I am in master, and on the left-hand side I am also in master. So we're both in the same branch. We're in the same master branch locally to us, okay? Right? So I am in my local master branch, and you're in your own local master branch. Right, so say the left-hand side here changes this. Maybe says instead of hello, 1 changes something. I don't know. It says left 1. Okay? And so we can look at the status. It says that we have 1 change. And the change is that we have modified the first line. We have removed hello, and we modified it to left. Correct? Obviously, on the right-hand side, I don't see that change. Right? So I'm still clean. I don't have anything. Obviously, there's no way for me to be notified that anything has changed. So the left-hand side goes on and commits their changes. Commit, add, changed hello 1 to left 1. Right? And we push our change. We push our change. So since it has been pushed on the remote server, right, on the remote repository, if we look at the commit history, says that Januzzi had originally created hello, and now they have changed hello 1 to hello 2. Makes sense, right? And we click on it. We see the differences. See that hello 1 has been removed for left. Everybody good? Right. All right. So let's continue. On the right-hand side, I'd like to know about these changes, so I can. So ideally, what would happen is that the left-hand side, a developer would send a message either on Slack or typically Git is configured to notify anybody about these changes. Anybody who's listening or watching this repository would get an email saying, hey, something has changed. You better update yourself, right? You are currently working with a stale version of the repository. Okay? Just tell everybody know. But it's okay because the right-hand side developer hasn't touched the file, right? So there shouldn't be any conflict whatsoever. The first thing that the developer should do, once they get a notification that it has changed, they would do a Git Pull. Right? Git Pull is going to go out to the remote origin repository and just bring down any changes. Right? So Git Pull comes back and says that there was 2 changes. Right? There was 1 addition and 1 subtraction. Okay, so it quickly summarizes here what were the changes. 2 additions and 1 minus there in red. And if they go to if they go to their IDE, they'll see that change there. See that it says now left 1. Now we're both in sync again. Yes? Right? And ideally this is how it would work. Right? It would be you make a change, you let me know, I pull down and I see your changes. I make changes, I push, right? And then you pull down and you see my changes. Yes? No conflicts, everybody's in sync. So let's do the same thing from the right-hand side. Right? And we'll change this to be right. Purchase. I will. I'll get to it. If we do a git status on the right-hand side, we see that indeed there's a change. We should always make sure that to do a diff to verify that the differences reflect the changes that I was expecting, right? That somehow the file doesn't contain other changes that I was not expecting, right? Magically somehow. And I can commit, so git commit add, so changed hello 10 to right 10. And we're going to push. So it pushes it, and on Git you see the history. If I refresh, we'll see that now we see the new change, right? Hello 10 to right 10, and we can look at the changes. We can look at the changes. There they are, right? Notice also that the ID of the unique identifier for the repository, for the commit, is listed there, right? Which should match the log that I have, right? So this is 362, right? If I do a git log one line, oops. What? Oh, there they are, right? 362 C985, right? So they match, right? And now the left-hand side now is behind, right? They're behind. They're out of sync, but that's okay, right? Because when we pushed, Git hopefully has been configured to notify everybody in the team that something new was pushed and they should synchronize. Okay? Everybody should do Git Pull. This is the first thing you should do in the morning when you come in, and just to make sure that you are in sync, or you missed a message or something, right? The first thing you should do in the morning, do a Git Pull, make sure that you're in sync. All right? And if I notice that my IDE hasn't changed yet, it still has my left one, my hello team, but if I click on it, right, it reloads, and I have now the changes from the other developer. Now we're both in sync. We both have the same content. Everybody okay? Right. The problem starts to happen when we try to make changes to either the same exact piece of content, right? Maybe the same exact line, and I try to commit things that without having first pulled what somebody else has changed. Right, so let's try doing that. So for instance, say the left-hand side changes the 5th line, right? And says this changes to left, right? Changes this to left, and they make the and on the right-hand side at the same time we happen to be working on the same line. I change it to right. Okay, right, and we both commit. Independently, we're working throughout the day, and we do both a commit. And it says changed hello 5 to left 5, right? And we push. Right, we commit and we push. So the left-hand side change have made it to the repo before the other folk, right? Now, if I try to do the same thing on my right-hand side, right, and I try to commit my changes, right, git commit am changed hello 5 to write 5. Right, so I've committed it. It doesn't really know that there's anything wrong, right? Not until I try to push. Right? Perhaps we were right about to push each other. I haven't yet received the email that this other person has committed their changes, right? That they have pushed these changes, and I try to push, right? Notice that I get a rejection. I said, nope, sorry, you can't push, right? Because you're out of sync, right? Somebody already has pushed, and you're trying to push something without considering the changes that the other person has made, right? It says you should first pull the changes and see if anything went wrong, right? So let's do a git pull. If we do a git pull, it says something is in conflict. Something is in conflict. You might have changed something, perhaps the same line, and I was not able to automatically merge the changes. If the changes would have been in different sections of the file, it would have tried to reconcile those changes and say, oh well, that's fine, it's okay. Somebody changed the first line of code, and you're changing the bottom 5 lines of code. I'll just merge the changes automatically, right? You'll get this this ominous message if it wasn't able to automatically merge. It says and tells you that there is a merge conflict. If I go to my file now, it's going to the merging process is going to tag the offending lines, right? The offending lines. If I go to my file, notice that it has added additional lines to let you know what are the differences. Okay? What this is saying is that locally your head, right, where your head is pointing to, right, has this local change. It says that you're saying that it should be write 5, whereas somebody has already committed. Right, and they've already pushed to the remote, and you have pulled it. And now I see that it's different than the commit A2CBD, right? Which, if we look at the remote, we'll see that it's this one. See that A2CBD? That's the push that the left-hand side, the left developer had pushed. You see that? Right? It's telling you that your changes differ from theirs. And it's overlapping exactly into that space. Right? So we need to resolve this. We need to resolve this. We need to agree on what it should ultimately be. Right? It could have been that I was making a change, and it's a legitimate change. Right? So maybe it's a legitimate change, and I think mine should win. Okay? Or I might say, oh, sorry, I didn't know that you had already fixed this. You're already working on this, and then I go with your change, right? Okay, but now it's a deliberate. It's not an implied change, right? It wasn't automatically done, right? Somebody has to look at this and make a decision. Somebody, and perhaps we go into a meeting, several emails go back and forth, several Slack messages go back and forth, and we agree that it's my changes or your changes. But somebody makes a final decision. Okay? And so we might decide that indeed, it should not say left. It should actually say right. 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 So I remove my all these additional comments, and I remove the changes that had already been committed. Make sense? But again, after much deliberation and agreement with the rest of the team, we do that. And then we can ask for the status, and says that okay, it seems that you have fixed the conflicts. To make the conflicts stick, just say git add and the file that you've just fixed, or just git add. It will it will add all the files that were in conflict, and we can do a git status again. And to make them permanently, we're going to do a git commit, right? And this creates for you a small message, just denoting that there was a conflict, it was resolved, right? Somebody actually went in and fixed this. Plus, you can add some additional comments if you want. It's VI. You insert and make your changes, and we can say to write and quit out of it, and then now we can push our change and make it permanent. All right. If we go back to our repository and we refresh, there'll be a notification, right, that that my change stuck, right, or the one from the right-hand side was stuck, right? That was the final deliberation, and there was a merging that to take care of this conflict. Does this make sense? Everybody okay? Right. All right. So notice that up to this point we've been all working in the same master branch. Typically, everybody would be working on their own feature branch. So let's talk about that next.